what do I do with this?
Yeah.
And I realized, of course, we're dealing with some hormones right now that need to be addressed. What do we do with the stuff that's coming at us?
Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I am back with my friend Cindy West this week, and we are in the middle of our Homeschooling Through the Years series, and I'm so excited to have Cindy with us because we are talking about the middle school years this week. And oh my goodness, I have a middle schooler. I have had a middle schooler, and we're in the trenches of it again. And these years with these middle school kids are fun and hard and confusing and frustrating and silly. And I mean, all the things. They're all the things. You get all the emotions, you get all the crazy. And so Cindy has walked this already with all three of her kids, and we're going to walk you through these years and bring some encouragement to you. But before we do, I want to say thank you again to our sponsor, BJU Press Homeschool. If you're looking for great homeschool material that will help equip you for a successful homeschool journey and teach everything that is rooted in a solid biblical worldview, try out BJU Press Homeschool. You can find them at bjupresshomeschool.com, of course. And if you're not sure what you need, they have something for every grade, every subject, every age, whatever it is that you need for your homeschool, they've got something for you. So you can call their consultants, talk to them, and they will help walk you through what you need for your family. Try them out, bjupresshomeschool.com. Well, Cindy, thank you for being back with me. This is so fun. I have missed having you on the podcast. It has been a while. We've done a couple podcasts together. I think the first one you did with me was on game schooling. And I still talk about that episode all the time because it was so much fun talking about how to incorporate games and the importance of games and how our kids can learn through the playing of games and that it's not a waste of time. There's so much to benefit from game schooling. And so we talked about that. And then the last one, I think we talked about nature studies. And so that was really fun. It's been a while, like, I don't know, a year and a half, probably. Time goes by so quickly. I don't know how.
Time does go by quickly. It feels like it's been at least a year and a half, maybe a little longer.
Yeah, it has been some time. So I am glad to have you back this week to talk about middle school, these crazy middle school years. But for those who don't know you and you're maybe new to them, introduce yourself and your ministry and all that you do. And then we'll put links, of course, to your other two episodes in the show notes so people can easily find us. But tell us who you are.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for having me back. I am Cindy West. I started homeschooling, 21 or 22 years ago. I'm not quite finished. I have a junior right now. He's my last baby, but I've graduated 2 of them. Let's see, I started a blog probably almost 17 or 18 years ago at this point called OurJourneyWestward.com. I have so many just kind of creative homeschooling resources there. That's why we talked about things like game schooling and nature study. I also am sort of known for nature study these days. So I'm Miss Cindy from No Sweat Nature Study. And then I have a lot of curriculum about nature study on the Our Journey Westward shop. So, just so many different things that we could talk about here. I think maybe if you could define me the easiest, you would be able to say maybe I'm an advocate for creative, joyful homeschooling, even through the middle school years.
Well, I'm excited about that because I think there are some of those middle school year mamas who are like, I don't know that you would call this joyful. These are just some hard years. And it's really funny for us because my girls are almost 5 years apart and their middle school years have been vastly different from one another. Our oldest daughter, when she was in middle school, we were still traveling. We were still making the movie. We didn't really have a real homeschool community because of our lifestyle and what we were doing. Sure. And so it was just kind of her. She was not immature, but she was just, I guess, your average kind of young teen, middle school kid.
Right.
My youngest daughter, who has an older sister who's 18 years old, is worlds different than, and of course their personalities are different too, but her middle school journey has been so different because she's in co-op. She has an older sister who she, just like she reflects her sister in almost everything. She looks much older than Brooklyn did when she was younger. Lacey is 13 and she looks like she's 16. One person recently thought she was a college student and I was like, she's only 13. And so it's so funny, but we're getting to experience the middle school years with Lacey in a way that we didn't with Brooklyn. And so we've got the drama. We've got there's so much awkwardness. Even in the homeschool world, believe it or not, we've got the fact that she's taller than all of the boys. It took Brooklyn a little bit of time to get tall, but Lacey's just shot right up. And so she's taller than all of the middle school boys. And, it's just a funny, awkward stage, but it's also so much fun because she's like coming out really, her person is really, really shining through and coming out. So talk a little bit about like what, kind of what it was like with you coming into the middle school years. I know that you were a teacher before. Did you teach middle school? Like kind of give us your journey of moving into those middle school years with your kids. And then let's just bring some encouragement.
Well, I think the question about did I teach middle school is a really funny one because no, I'm educated in elementary education. But the year before I got my teaching position, I did substitute teaching. And it took me a handful of times to go into the middle school classrooms to say, don't call me again. I will work in elementary. I will work in high school, but please don't call me anymore for middle school substitute teaching. And so when the time came to homeschool middle school kids, my daughter, who is currently 27, she was in co-op at the time. We were all in the same co-op together. And I was teaching a lot in co-op. So not only was I entering this homeschool sphere with a child and thinking, oh, it was so terrible when I was substitute teaching, what's going to happen? I was also put in a middle school co-op class. And I thought, well, okay, what is this going to be like? We shall see.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most precious experiences ever. So homeschooling all three of my children, different kids, different social needs, different times that they kind of hit hormone fluctuations and, different friend groups, all of these different things, which of course were sometimes hurdles to jump through. But in the end, it was so precious. So the co-op class was, and I've taught many since, precious. And my kids, precious. Now, that doesn't mean that it hasn't been challenging.
Yeah.
It just means that I was able to say, okay, first off, I'm a little older at this point, and I can appreciate what kids this age are going through. And I can see it from a homeschool perspective, which even though we still definitely have things that we have to deal with, it's a completely different world for the most part, for most families. I know everybody won't have that same experience.
Sure.
But in general, because we're there and we love them so much, whether it's as a homeschool mom or parent, or even in my classroom, I loved those kids as a mom, and I knew that we were all in this thing together. And so we were able to do the fun stuff that I think kids are finally able to do when they reach those middle school years.
Yeah.
And in giving them what they need, it allows for fewer bumps, or those bumps to be maybe less high, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was substituting in middle school, a lot of those kids were just abandoned by their families in some ways. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And they were the ones really pushing boundaries and becoming stumbling blocks for some of the other kids. And as homeschoolers, we're able to be so sensitive to what's going on and give them what they actually need, that those middle school years don't have to be quite as chaotic or traumatic or whatever you want to call that word, that middle school tends to get called. You know?
Traumatic, I think, is a good word for it, because I think many parents feel that way. They get to those middle school years and they're like, and we're done. And then they want to put their kids back in the classroom because it's hard. And it's, man, you mentioned hormones, and wow, this is the time where they don't know what to do with those hormones. You know, they're just, their bodies are changing at the most rapid rate, and they don't know how to control it physically, emotionally, mentally, socially. All the things they're just confused about. And then what's funny, and I have found this with my youngest especially, is like she and her friends all think that all the other middle schoolers are weird. And I'm certain that all the other middle schoolers think they're weird. Like they all think each other are weird, and it's because they are. It's because they just, everything is changing, and not weird in a bad way. They're just trying to figure out how to handle all the stuff that's going on in their bodies. So we're going to talk more about that, but we're going to take a break first. We'll be right back. Have you tried CTC Math yet with your child? Here's a testimonial from another happy homeschool mom. Amber said, "I'm absolutely thrilled with CTC Math. It's a rare find that I've used with my children for more than 5 years now. I have 6 children using CTC Math, and each child has found it easy to navigate and very applicable. Thank you so much for all that you are doing in providing quality math lessons for my children." If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com. That's ctcmath.com. Are you looking for a homeschool curriculum that goes beyond textbooks and truly engages your children in the joy of learning? Apologia's award-winning curriculum is written by homeschool parents to specifically meet your needs and captivate your students with hands-on activities and experiments that make learning unforgettable. With an easy-to-follow, open-and-go format, Apologia takes the stress out of planning and provides a simple roadmap that can easily be tailored to your family's needs. Explore live classes or self-paced courses designed to accommodate every student's unique learning style. Elevate your child's education, spark their curiosity, and nurture a lifelong love for learning with Apologia. Discover Apologia today at apologia.com. We are back with Cindy. Let's talk about these hormone years. Maybe we should call them that instead of middle school years, right? We'll call them the hormone years. And I think sometimes it seems like, oh, that's a bad word. Don't say the H word. But you know what? It's real. And we've all been through it. Every human goes through it. And it's perfectly natural and normal. And it's what God, it's how God created us. But it's hard to know how to handle these years and navigate through them. So what encouragement can you bring here?
Well, sometimes I don't even think that we recognize that that's actually what's happening. So I think first and foremost, I had a daughter, and then I had a son, and then I had another son. And each one of their hormone years, we will call it that for now, were different. They looked different. They happened at different ages, and they happened in different ways. So when one child was just kind of getting sassy, it took me a little while to recognize, okay, wait a minute, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And then with another child, when that one was just really kind of anxiety ridden, I guess is the best way to put it, because all of these different freedoms were coming into this kid's life that posed some challenges, where they were maybe seeing some things that were new to them. And we can have the discussion about whether to bring certain things into their life now or later.
Sure.
But okay, let me just go out. It was YouTube. So for some school things, there were some YouTube assignments, but YouTube figured out very quickly that this person was a young man. And so there were suggested videos and advertisements and things like that started coming up that never should have been shown to a child.
Yeah.
And that is a very frustrating part of whatever we want to call that. I don't think YouTube, I don't necessarily consider that social media. But we had to work through that. And so that child was coming with some anxieties of, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
And I realized, of course, we're dealing with some hormones right now that need to be addressed. What do we do with the stuff that's coming at us?
Right.
And so what I found with hormones, whether it was angst, whether it was agitation, whether it was arguing with siblings, whether it was, oh no, I've seen things, and it wasn't terrible, terrible, terrible stuff this kid saw. I
Sure.
do want to, because, I am talking about my child right now.
Yeah.
So let's make it really clear that child didn't go and see anything terrible.
Sure.
But it was, something targeted that showed a lady who was very, very attractive. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
And, just seeing all of these different things, my response every single time was, okay, well, we've got to talk about this head on.
Right.
Because when we talk about it head on and we let them know, hey, guess what? You have hormones raging.
Yeah.
And this is how it works. It was almost at that time with every single kid, when I finally figured out, oh, this is what's happening, that I was able to say, you know what? Now is the time that we learn everything there is about girls, boys, hormones, changes, body odor, all the different things. This is why you're getting agitated about stuff. This is why you need to be really careful about what you see and hear, who you're friends with. We just tackled every single topic head on.
Yeah.
No holds barred.
Yep.
No question was left unanswered. And in fact, questions were answered that weren't asked.
Yeah.
Because the middle schoolers don't necessarily want to ask those questions.
Yeah.
So I guess my biggest piece of encouragement is it's going to happen.
Yep.
It might take you a minute to recognize it's happening, and that's okay. You'll finally go, oh, got it. Okay, that's why whatever this thing is happening.
Yeah.
And then the honest conversations. Those are the most important thing of all. Yeah. And then, making sure that boundaries are in place where temptations for various things, and I'm not even talking about, sexual temptations, but temptations for being around friends who now have a lot of freedom.
Yeah. Make
sure you know where your kids are and what they're doing, because it's going to be really easy for them to be finding places and people who have more independence and freedom than your family might necessarily want your children to have at that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, and I appreciate you talking about the importance of just communication with our kids. It's so important because, like you said, it's going to happen. They're going to have questions naturally about everything that's happening to them, the things that are happening to their friends, the things that are being talked about. Any homeschool family who has any interaction with other homeschool families or the public, they're going to have questions about things, and it's not a bad thing. And we've always told our girls, just like it sounds like you did, like, you can ask us anything. There's nothing that will surprise me, and there's nothing that's going to upset me or shock me. I will literally talk to you. And there have been times where they've asked something and I've felt like they were just a little bit too young to handle the burden of that question. And I'll say, yes, I will answer that, but we're going to wait just a little bit. And I might give them like an overview answer, kind of a vague, like, okay, well, here's kind of an answer, but this is not the full answer. But when you're older, but what I never want them to do is feel like they need to Google the question that they have and look for those answers somewhere else, or ask their friends who heard from their friends the answer to these questions. I want them to come to me and to my husband and ask us.
And the interesting thing about this middle school period, everyone is going through their hormonal changes at different times.
Mm-hmm.
So you as the parent know what your child is going through and what they're able to handle.
Yeah.
So some 12-year-olds might need the whole story. Other 12-year-olds might still be playing with dolls. Or whatever. And you think, no, you're not ready for the whole story yet. And then I do want to just reiterate that even though we make ourselves available to say there is no question that's left or that you could ask that will be too embarrassing or that will be mad at you, you will still have kids, the best of the best kids, who still won't ask those questions because
Yeah.
they are embarrassing.
Yeah.
So some things that we did, and I can't even tell you the names of the books right now, but we did provide some guided reading times. I didn't just turn books over to my kids about these topics.
Right.
Those were, we sat together and read them together.
Yeah.
One that I know for sure was Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. And it was one that really helped understand why it's important when something just happens to show up. You're just studying for something that you've been asked to study. And what just happened on this screen?
Yeah.
Why it's important to turn your eyes. And this book was perfect for the middle school ages to help understand even the idea of dopamine reactions. So it started out real easy, and then it went into detail of, listen, when you see, that's a dopamine. And then you want to see more. And then that's more dopamine. And then you want to see more. So it was a fantastic way to say, this is why we're asked as Christians to be very careful what we see, hear, do, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then we did, and I can't again think of the names of the books, but we, at this time was when we delved in really deep to how babies are made.
Yeah.
Because those books would usually walk through what's going on with hormones. There was one for boys specifically, and I remember every chapter was about something like, why do I stink? What is this hair?
Yeah.
Why are my muscles getting bigger? I mean, it broached topics that you wouldn't even think your kids might ask.
Yeah. Especially as a
you
mom.
might smell them.
Right.
Yes, especially. Yes, my husband went through that one with my boys. And I was thankful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why God gave, kids, mommies, and daddies. to be able to walk through those. But yeah.
But you know what? I do want to encourage anybody who's a single parent. There are many times I've had conversations with my boys that a lot of people would blush. And you know what? I probably did blush.
Yeah.
And they probably did blush. But it set the stage for, listen, for the rest of your life, you can come back to me with anything. And I'm going to love you, and I'm not going to be shocked by it.
Yeah.
And we will dig deep and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what that does too, as a mom who's willing to talk with her boys about things, is it sets them up for success with a wife. Because then they're comfortable talking with a woman about things that are hard to talk about, and I mean, my husband grew up in a home of all boys, and they were very boy. I mean, they were boy to the max. And I grew up in a house of just girls, and we were very girly. And it was kind of interesting, when we got married, just feeling like, I don't really understand boys. And he's like, I don't really understand girls. And he has said on multiple occasions, I'm so thankful that our girls have a mom. I'm so thankful our girls have a mom. But I'm so thankful they have a dad too, of course.
Yes.
God's design for the family is perfect. And so, yes, I mean, there certainly are single parents out there, for a variety of reasons, and God still will give you what you need to be able to navigate these things with your kids. But yeah, it's fun and hard and weird to talk through these things with our kids. And like you said, every kid is different depending on their age and their maturity. I had one that started asking questions about how babies were made when she was probably 10. She's probably like 8 when she started asking. Right. And then I didn't really answer till she was probably 10. Yes. And my other one, she didn't really care that much about it until she was a little bit older, but they're just different. And so, by middle school years, I would say they definitely need to know and understand how babies are made. And we will put some links in the show notes to some books that we've used for our family to help navigate through those, because you don't have to come up with all the answers yourself. There are lots of wonderful Christian people who have written wonderful Christian books on these topics to help walk you through these with your kids in a way that is appropriate and biblical. And so we'll put links to all those things in the show notes. But we're out of time. We have so much more to talk about, because I want to kind of park on some of those issues of like personal hygiene and, like just weird things that we go through with our kids.
Okay.
And I want to talk about academics too. And what does that look like in the middle school years? Because that's a whole different ballgame when it comes to middle school kids versus elementary versus high school. I mean, it's just different. So
and
we've
it
got
gets
lots
me
more.
really excited to talk about. So
I
can't wait. Yeah.
You have so many great resources on your website. Share with our audience really quick where they can find all things Cindy West, because you've got, and we'll put links there too, but you've got a ton of great resources specifically on middle school kids.
Okay. OurJourneyWestward.com. And all you would need to do is type middle school in the search bar and you'll find several things.
Okay. We will put those links in the show notes. And you also have, I saw on your website, you have a video training course called The Magical, Marvelous Years of Middle School. And I've not seen it yet, but I imagine it's really, really well done because I know everything you do is done with excellence. So we'll put links to that in the show notes and maybe talk about that later in the week. Thank you guys so much for listening and being with us. Come back with us on Wednesday to continue this conversation. Stay tuned to the very end to hear a clip of that conversation. And we are so grateful for you guys. If you've not left a review for the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast, would you take just a minute and do that and let others know why they should listen to the podcast so that it will encourage them as well? And share it with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our channel and share that with your friends as well. You guys are our marketing team, like all of you, all of our listeners, you guys are our marketing team. So we need your help to get the word out about this podcast. And, you know, friends, homeschool moms, friends don't let friends homeschool without help. So we need a bumper sticker that says that. Anyway, we love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. You can find everything at our website, schoolhouserocked.com. And we will see you back here on Wednesday. Bye.
Education is discipleship, and this is something I didn't understand until I was probably 3 years into homeschooling. The Bible teaches us in Luke 6:40 that when a student is fully trained, he will be like his teacher. And as we look around the culture right now, I think it begs the question, who is teaching our children? Who is teaching our children, and what are they teaching our children? And to me, the primary benefit of having my children home with me is I am able to impart my worldview to my children.
And let's say you are the most locked down of all the parents. You still must have conversations about what they might start seeing. Whether a friend is, let's say they're playing basketball on a homeschool basketball league. It's a Christian coach, it's Christian parents, but one of those kids has access to social media and they're in the locker room and he or she goes, "Look what I just found."
Yeah.
You've locked down the best you can, and yet there it still is in front of their face. So just like we talk about hormones, just like we talk about those scary, stinky, how babies are made, everything issues, we also have to talk about what this world is going to present to you.